Hello and welcome to the Story Engine podcast. My name's Kyle Gray and I have Trevor Crane here with me today. We are going to be creating an epic story about the power of collaboration. Tell them about it, Trevor.
Well, what was cool here is that I got to share strategies that we use with Epic Author to help people become very successful. So you're going to learn some strategies about that. But Kyle was able to pull out of me some things about my story that are now like an epic way I can tell my sob story to success. And he fed that back to me. So you're about to learn what that looks like.
Let's dive into the podcast. Trevor Crane, welcome to the Story Engine podcast.
Thank you for having me, brother. My future is so bright, I've got to wear shades.
I believe it. I love the pixels. I am really excited to dig into one of the most important elements that makes an epic author, like the ones that you make, and that's being able to collaborate and create together to grow more. I think it's one of the most important and fast business strategies you can implement. But before we dive into that goodness, will you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you're showing up in the world today?
Sure. So, as you said, I'm Trevor Crane. A lot of people call me Sexy Trevor, and I don't know why they just do that for me, but maybe it's the glasses and the attitude. So, some people think I'm a sex symbol. I'm just kidding. No, I have a company called Epic Author. So, I'm a publisher. For the last 10 years, I've been helping amazing people write their books to grow their business, their mission, their brand. And every day I feel like a little bit of a superhero and more like Clark Kent looking like, with the glasses and nerd and whatnot. And I'm looking around and I think all of us are kind of in the same vehicle, that there's people out there we can help, but our job is not to assault them on the street. Superman didn't really do that. He was Clark Kent. He was walking around incognito, waiting for someone to yell help. So I think we all have a little superhero inside of us, and I'm trying to when I help people with books. And when you talked about collaborations, I just look for people that I connect with energetically and mission-driven wise, like with you. And I'm like, hey, what can we do together? How can we work together? And I truly believe that we're one person away from making all of our dreams come true. Let's say Elon Musk became your buddy and he said, oh my God, do what Kyle does. Like, you're probably going to crush. Or if it's Oprah, or if it's Tony Robbins, or whomever. Or you had one more person and one more hire on your team, or you find the love of your life. Or I think sometimes people get confused. I certainly did when I started the book writing process, that I thought I had to do it all myself as opposed to getting some help. So one of my mentors talks about who versus how. So when I find someone like Lois Lane was yelling for help, oh no, I'm in trouble. Like, Superman became her bitch. Like, he tore off his clothes, went down to his underwear, ran out, risked his life for Lois Lane to try to help her. I think we're all like that, whether it's your kid, your wife, your husband, your daughter, whatever. And in the context of storytelling and collaborations, and I work with a lot of business owners and real successful people, I'm trying to help them because we all need help. We all need more people in our world to support us in getting what we need to do. And I think we're looking for that one person. Sometimes I get the chance to be that one person for people, or Kyle, you're that one person for me in context. And I tell you a little bit about what I do. That's what I do, what I focus on. But it's a similar mission that I think we all have, because I think we're all in this big old blue ball together. And I don't really focus on all the negativity and hate and this, that, or the other. I'm just one of the happiest, go luckiest, playful dudes ever. I piss some people off, and others think I'm cute. Others think I'm funny.
Some think you're sexy.
I'm not one, but that's what I do right now.
I love that. And I appreciate how you show up, and we've had several conversations, and you bring yourself forward in so many ways in your creative process. And I'm really excited to learn more about that. And first, I want to hear about the types of leaders that you serve and how you really work with them. I think the collaborative element's really interesting, but who is this kind of person that could benefit from these perspectives, benefit from a book used in the strategies that you talk about?
Good question. And I think it's the second most important question when I'm helping somebody with this process, because I'm going to do my best to answer that question and also share with you a 3-part framework that anybody can use. I think that we're all in the same business, and it's historically the most successful business in the history of the world. And this sounds cheesy because my first millionaire mentor told me that the secret to his success, I was in my 20s, and he said to me that the secret to his success and whatnot was that it was love. And I was like, what? Love? You got to be kidding me. I just wanted to throw up in my mouth. But I think the most important question, and you asked who I serve, I'm going to get to that second, because that's the second most important question. The first one is, what would you love? So and the follow-up question is, who do you love? That's who you might want to serve. Third question is, what do the people love that you want to serve? So let me break this down. What would I love? So Kyle, I want to help a million dreams come true. Like feel like I get to make dreams come true every day. And I was like, maybe I could set a mission that would get me up in the morning and get me excited about how to spend my day. And ever since I was a little kid, I liked helping people, coach them, help them, support them, and get the goal. And I've been a great teammate for that. And when I design what I want, though, when I look in the mirror, I'm like, well, I want more abundance. I want my new book, Collaborate, is the working title of it. I want to connect with people and change the world, kumbaya. I think anybody watching this right now has similar goals of what they want. They probably want more love, more abundance, more impact, more income. And so if you get, or when I get more clear about what I want, then I can get clear about and what I love, right? What's the dream? Who do you love is the second question. First question is, what would you love? So I'm sharing with you my results. So brother, you can help me, that we can collaborate. And then you're like, okay, dude, so if you want to help people, if you want to help them write their books, if you want to help them make their dreams come true, because you're asking that was your first question. Like, okay, Trev, you know me. So you know me and you're like, hey, who are you trying to help? So we can target the messaging for that, and you can introduce me to someone that I can serve. That's the second question, which I'll draw on myself because I'm silly. The first question is, what would you love? Like the future. The second question is, who do you love? So I'm not sure if you can see this in the little video there. I draw on myself. Who do you love? This is part of what my millionaire mentor told me. He says, I only take on projects that I love, because then I'm going to do the things that I love. And then I only hire people who love what they do. But you and I are in business, and I think we're in the same business. It's the love business. That's the longest, most successful business in the history of the world, is we serve people, and not everybody, but the people that we love. And it could be your wife, your spouse, your customers, what I'm talking about, the people that you want to impact, your kids, whomever it is. Oftentimes people think, I want to help everyone, when we need to be really clear that there's a certain type of avatar that's probably more perfect. And then the other part of this equation, and I'll answer your question, but this is the 3 questions that I often give my clients when I'm helping them, is the third question is, what do they love? And what do they love are, I believe, problem solved and results delivered. Because when I'm sharing this with you, I don't want to just give you, oh, this is all about me and all my cool stuff. I want to make sure that your viewers and even anybody watching this right now can execute on this. Like, look in the mirror and decide what you want and what you love and what's the dream, and think real clearly about that, because you can get what you want and you can know who to target that can help you get there. You're looking for your who. And then if you're going to talk to them, and that's what I'm constantly trying to help people do, is to find their own inner superhero and find the people who need their help. Some people out there don't want your help right now. They're going to think you suck. And those people probably don't want your help. Like, you don't have to be upset by that, because we're going to piss some people off, and they're not going to even notice us. But if we talk to them about what they love, which are problem solved, results delivered, now we can help. So let's get to my who. So my book, Collaborate, that hopefully will come out in the next 3 to 10 years, be my most successful book ever. I have a publishing company, so I know how to do this, but I want to impact more people. So that new book is about the profitable partnerships that I create between now and then. So who am I looking for? The coolest, most successful people I can find. Like, multimillionaires, billionaires, business owners, thought leaders, people who aren't pussies, people who aren't a-holes. Like, I don't remember if you said, I welcome to curse on this thing. So I said a-hole instead of, what I was really talking about. But
like
what
a light salting, like salt, as much salt as in a chocolate chip cookie.
Okay. So just a tiny bit. Okay. Cause I'm normally like, let's just have the fiery shot. So then let's keep it tame. I want really cool people. So I typically work with business owners, thought leaders, like the most successful people that, when you and I met, we met at a mastermind in Las Vegas. And I put myself in environments where I can find a whole bunch of people who are more successful than me, better at what they do than I am by far. So I can up level my game. So when I'm looking for people to interview for my book, Collaborate, or interview on my podcast, Make It Rain with Trevor Crane, I'm talking about cool, abundant people that want to impact the world, change the world, people who feel like they have a calling. I help them write books and position their authority. So my company name is Epic Author because I help people become epic authors. And I'm not looking for people that are playing small or want to just tell their story. I want to help them tell their story that has impact. So we together can help people, that I can partner with them, with you, to like figure out a message that will matter to somebody. I use the word epic because it's our company name, but epic is something people might talk about. Like, oh my God, that dinner was amazing. That person, Kyle, was fantastic. That book was amazing. You need to check it out. That movie, you got to go see it. Mm-hmm. And somebody hates that movie, by the way, and somebody hates that book, and somebody doesn't like that dinner, and somebody doesn't like Kyle, which I can't even believe it, but I'm guessing there's somebody. I mean, it's not me. I haven't met him.
There's a few out there.
There's just a few, those few stupid bastards. But when they criticize you, dude, I'm not going to join that bandwagon because I'm looking for the people who are loving and abundant. And when I ask to interview people, it's the coolest, most successful people I can find. And if I think they're jerks or twerps or whatever, then it's just like, that's cool, man. They can go do their thing someplace else because I just don't have any room for my life except for abundance and love and not bitching, whining, moaning, complaining.
Perfect.
I'm not sure I answered your question phenomenally, but that's what I'm looking for.
You answered the question lengthily. And let's dig deeper into this because these people have problems. And some of the ones that I've extrapolated are they're trying to do everything all on their own, and it's causing them to run out of energy. They're not living up to their calling. What's a third bullet?
Okay, so you're reading my mind and a little bit of the journey that I took on doing this. So if we take a step back to my problem of writing my book and trying to, anyway, yeah. I didn't write my first book, brother, for 20 years because of the two things you just said. So most people, so like this means when I was 20 years old, I thought I'd write a book, and I pulled out, I have a big pencil here. If anybody's not watching the video, I just pulled it out. It's a big phallic yellow pencil. It's amazing. I'm gripping it in my fist right now. But I started writing my book on my own, thinking that I had to do this on my own, and didn't think of who could help me. I knew what I wanted. Some people said that I should write a book. I always had thought that writing a book kind of meant that you were successful, and I had these fears that stood in my way. And you just kind of outlined some of the things that people are missing or what are their problems. There's the delusion that if it has to be, it's up to me. So this is who versus how, I think, because if I'm just looking for the who's can help me. And I think there's this disconnect in those of us that feel accountable, that, that we're business owners, or we're someone that says, I'm not going to bitch and moan and complain about things, that it's got to be up to me. I think oftentimes that's the mistake, is that there is a path, man, through the jungle from here to the Emerald City at the end of the rainbow. And Dorothy figured it out in The Wizard of Oz, where she just walked down the yellow brick road. I think too often my mistake, or I think the really successful people that I get to work with, they think they can get there because they've gotten to where they got. And they're so busy doing what they do to get what they got. They don't pause. They don't stop, think, and breathe for a moment and have space to figure out, what do I need to do to get me where I want to go? Because they're so busy coming up with, this is one of my problems that I still can have if I don't have space on my calendar and in my mind and in my heart and whatnot. And so oftentimes it's stop. I'm a scuba instructor as well. Like years ago, I learned to become a scuba instructor. And the number one rule in scuba diving is that you always breathe, because they don't want you holding your breath at the bottom of the ocean and then bursting your lungs because you freak out and go to the surface. And they teach, as an instructor, they teach us to teach our clients, the people that we're teaching to breathe underwater, which is crazy. We say stop think, and breathe. Like if you freak out and you find yourself underwater and you find yourself overwhelmed and you're busy or you just aren't getting to the next level of success, dude, I think it's having the patience and the time and the space to just not be so busy doing what you got to do to keep what you got, but create space to figure out what do you need to do to get what you want. And oftentimes the gap there is not that you have to meditate about it and freaking figure it out on your own. It is to get clear about what you want. And then we're going to go back to who can help you go get it. And now, dude, it's like, oh, well, that's smart. Like the most successful people I've ever met, I met Grant Cardone. He interviewed me on one of his podcasts. I was on his podcast. There's something about cool people like that you'd create. I can't remember what the name of the thing was right now, but within the first 90 seconds, he asked me for help. Here we got a guy who's really much more successful than I am in many, many ways. And in the first 90 seconds, maybe it's 45 seconds, he met me, whatever, we did a little thing, and then he asked me for help. Like the most successful people I know are looking for more people to help them get what they want. They get clear about what it is, and then they know that they don't have the path. And I don't know if I'm answering your question there, but that was my rant. I could keep going, Kyle, but I don't want to long-winded everything.
No problem. And we are moving on our way. This podcast is all about finding and identifying the right moments that we can weave into a story that will serve you. And we are on that path right now. One of the other pain points that I'm hearing between your words is doing everything on your own is also lonely. And it's not just all of the tactical things that you need to do, but there's a lot of decisions and choices and big ideas that need to be wrestled with that are really difficult to do on your own, especially if you're working too hard, staying busy, managing the success that you've already created and not really having any of the space or time. And so it becomes this kind of double bind of constantly putting out fires of the urgent and never having any time to be important, which makes more urgent things happen. And we get stuck.
I wouldn't disagree.
And to translate this into results delivered, having the right or doing everything on your own goes to being supported. And like, what does that mean to you, or where do you see the support?
So personally, my personal journey, I don't feel that alone. I think a lot of people do. And I wouldn't disagree with you. Like that's just not my personal one. I have a different personality than many people, but like, let's go to the Dorothy example. Dorothy ended up in Oz and she was scared and she was unsure and she didn't know how to get from where she was to where she wanted to go. And she wanted to go home. So the first thing she did courageously was ask for help. And then the little people pointed her down the yellow brick road. And so when you put yourself in that situation, the alone person is Dorothy. But Dorothy was approached by the wicked witch and then a good witch and whatever, and then the little people, whatnot. Like, I think there are people all around us. We have these phones that are this remote control for the universe. Right now we have what's going on with AI. We can chat with GPT and Google and this, that, or the other. So and then I have all of these imaginary mentors in my head of the books and courses and things that I've ever read. Now, there are moments I feel alone, but I think that it's just a disconnect that we go back to one of the things of, I think I need to solve it all myself. I am constantly asking just this who all the time. And sometimes it's me, sometimes it's future me that I got to talk to. But I think that Dorothy figured this out in the movie. I mean, it's such a beautiful idea, black and white or Technicolor. She started skipping down the yellow brick road with her little dog in like a happy-go-lucky way in her blue dress. And anybody listening right now, you are Dorothy in the blue dress and I'm the little people. I'm not the biggest dude in the world, by the way, so it's not far-fetched. So Dorothy skipped down the yellow brick road with a whole bunch of dangers. There's lions and tigers and bears, oh my. And on this winding road through the jungle of potential danger, she found help along the way. And now here's the key, is that the people that I like working with are those that are open to help, who say, hi, Scarecrow. And then the two of them walk down the path. Like, I remember Tony Robbins was one of my first mentors I ever went to a seminar with. And this was probably when I was in my 30s. And was in my 30s. And at that point, I'd already failed to write my first book for 10 years, Kyle. I had put getting leverage to it. I'd made progress on a book that when I was 20 and 21 and 22 and 25 and 29. But by the time I went to Tony when I was about 30 years old, he said, and he helped me at this event I went to, and I thought it was valuable. I thought he brainwashed me, meaning that my brain was dirty, and he helped me clean it up. Like when you're stinking and you need a shower, I think sometimes we need to take a shower and get brainwashed. And my brainwash was that I was capable of more and different things. And he said, if you've liked the value I've given you so far and you would like my help, would you like my help for the next 2 years? Which, by the way, is what I try to do. Like, Kyle, if I worked with you or collaborate with someone, I don't want to help you today. I want to help you forever. I want to find a partnership, a collaboration that I become now an asset on your team. Not because I'm your guru and I want to lead you. But what Tony said that very first time, my very first event I ever went to, he goes, I invite you to walk with me. And he said, like, if you like our program and you like this philosophy, like, I'm going to invite you to do more. And he gave me an invitation for more so I could get more help. And I did. I said, yes, I want it. Even though I didn't have the money, even though I didn't know how, even though I didn't whatever, he asked me to raise my hand whether or not I wanted it. And I was like, bitch, I need some help. Like, I don't think I can do this on my own. Where have you been all my life? Like, why didn't somebody tell me the truth? Why didn't somebody tell me how stinky I was with some of my thoughts and how, and so I think it's the business owner entrepreneur that feels alone, which can happen every day. I mean, I can feel that way, but very fast. I go to, no. There's a who can help me. And we can turn on the phone. And I am not talking about listening to the fucking whining, bitching, moaning haters that are complaining about shit. Like, I don't even listen to that. I don't even see it, dude, because I just hit unsubscribe. You know, like I don't even process it. There's no negative news in my house because I'm not focused on it. But I think it is, they can get over the feeling alone if they're just open to receiving help. And that is not my problem right now, where I'm open. Dude, I need more help than most. So, like, I try to provide that help when I can be that guy. But you're right. It can be a fear that holds people back. And I think they all kind of go together. But Dorothy needed more help than just the scarecrow. She got some other help. And she found out that she was more at the end, you know, and she had it all within her. But she didn't get there on her own. And I think very few people do. And the mistake is thinking with freaking the hubris of like, oh, I got it. Are you freaking kidding me? If you're not living the life that you desire, like there's always, I don't care where you are, there's another level. I've worked with people who are billionaires and they want the next billion, not because they're greedy little bitches, but because they can't stand the fact of not having the impact at the next level that they want to have. I find really successful people are those that are most willing, ready, eager to serve, and they live and love more than anyone else.
Awesome. I love this passion. And I want to talk about you now. You've been very generous in talking about other people and bringing in stories. And I want to hear moments from your life now. We've gotten really clear on who we're trying to serve. And you've already hinted that there's been moments. And there's a story of a decade of wanting to write a book and not doing it. And I can remember listening to podcasts just like this one for years and waiting for my perfect business idea to arrive and wasting 2 or 3 years before ever doing anything. And I think there's something important here. And it might be a little bit further along for the ideal people for this message. But can you tell me about a time, a specific moment, a Tuesday afternoon on this struggle of getting out there where you felt lonely, where you were trying to do everything on your own, where you were busy managing your success and trying to just keep your head above water so much that you didn't really feel empowered that you could do it, or you weren't living up to your calling?
So there's a million moments, and I can pick some. You know, when I filed in 2009, I filed a $2.2 million bankruptcy, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I mentioned this actually in my first interview with Grant Cardone, and he teased me about it, and he talked like, "Hey man, go bigger next time," because he's 10x everything, right? But I mean, I was really stung at that time. I had grown up the son of a horseshoer. I felt like the poorest cat. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. My dad's a horseshoer, and my parents always fought about money. And there were like, I felt alone. I felt insignificant. I wasn't the tallest. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the smartest. It was hard for me at school. Like, I have that sob story that many have about not growing up with what the way they want. And the lack and the multiple marriages and the 11 different stepbrothers and sisters I had as a kid growing up, you know, that was fuel for me to want to be out of those situations. A stepfather who was a drunk for a while and abusive to some degree. And those were like a million little moments of feeling like I'm alone and like I don't know what to do next. And when I finally had created some success in my life and I tried to do what everybody says to do, you at that time, way back in the 1980s when I was in high school, I was like, my ticket out is going to become a good student and do the best I can. So even though I sucked at some of the school stuff, I figured out how to graduate with honors and go to college.
Trevor, I would like to redirect you. There's a really beautiful moment. Tell me about the day. So $2.2 million bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. Tell me about a time when you were filling out the papers or the moment you made a decision that you had to do this, or maybe you stepped, I don't know, like when the final process of the bankruptcy was filed and then what happened in that moment right after. Is there anything that comes to mind there?
So I'll give you 3 moments, but I'm going to listen to you and be brief. Okay. Okay. The 3 moments were when I had foreclosed on my house and lost all my cars and was staying at I was homeless, and the baby that I had, a 2-year-old baby, the woman I was in love with took her and left me for a lot of good reasons. And I found myself staying at a friend's house in his sister's room, in his parents' house, lime green walls all around me.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I sat down in my 30s and I just cried. This is, 30, however old I was 2009, so we can figure it out. But like, that was a moment. Now, that was a low of like, I just felt I let down the world. And I thought I'd go to not just jail, but hell. So I thought I was living a hell. Now, I had to come to terms with something, and this was a pivot point of what it meant to have a bankruptcy. Like I said, I thought I'd go to jail and go to hell. There was a moment of that transitioned from me being in the middle of that to creating a new meaning for what it meant to be bankrupt. And I had to get away from it being that I'm a liar and a loser, because that's what I had associated to it. It took me a while. It took me weeks, if not months, to figure that out.
Can you tell me about a specific time? Like I'm in my living room and I decided I needed to create a new meaning. This is probably a few months after. And you're like,
my dad said to me that he thought I should file a bankruptcy and I wanted to kill him. Yes. I was so offended.
Where did he tell you on the phone? Were you in person with him?
We were on the phone and he was talking to me about, I felt offended, appalled that he was calling me a loser and these different things. And that's when I first realized that I needed to redefine it, because I was so triggered and so mad. And I can't, the next moment that I mentioned after that, because it's a blur between what I did then and when I finally looked in the mirror, Kyle, I'm looking at something else on my screen. Kyle, when I looked in the mirror and I took responsibility for the whole thing and I said, this is my fault. Now, that was a freeing moment. And it was months between there. So many upsetness, but the looking in the mirror and owning this, and instead of blaming the other people that had a part of this challenge I was facing, instead of blaming them, looking in the mirror and taking full ownership of it, that was a pivotal moment. That looking in the mirror, and that was magical. Then I cried, and instead of feeling anxious, I felt free, because I was like, because I can't control all these other people and all these things that had happened. So once I stopped whining and bitching about the situation and I owned it, I could actually do something to impact that, and that was the beginning. And the culmination of that, the moment after that, was, dude, after I filed my bankruptcy, and there is a moment when this happens, and this was magic, dude. I'm in. You fill out the paperwork and there's all this freaking rigmarole that you go through to make that happen. And then you go to court. And I went to court. I flew back into, because I left the state. I was like, this sucks. I'm homeless. I'm out. But I had to go back to the state of Florida to file this bankruptcy. And I flew in. A friend of mine picked me up at the airport. He gave me his car, and I was able to drive to the bankruptcy office. And I met with the judge. And I thought I might go to jail. I still didn't know what was going on. And I met with him. And on that day, dude, I made $2.2 million because he looked me in the mirror. It took like 2 minutes. It was the fastest, easiest thing I've ever done. So much fear over it. I made $2.2 million that day because he wrote it off. He was like, okay, is all this true? Look me in the eye, ask me one question, whatever. And then I was done. That was magic, dude. Because the moment I looked in the mirror was when I took responsibility. And the moment I walked out of that place, I get chills right now thinking about it. I was the happiest bankrupt dude you have ever met because I was grateful for who I had become in the process. And I wrote that shit off on whatever month it was in 2009. That was
awesome.
magic.
Next story. Results delivered. The opposite moment. You feel supported. You are surrounded. You have the spaciousness to be with your daughter, with your family, with yourself. And you are living to your full calling. I know that there's 100 moments too, and just picking any moment that fits is ideal.
There's
Yay.
one. So this last summer, so maybe it's 8-9 months ago now, because it's real close. Maybe it's even 10 months ago. Could have been a year ago. I don't know, because we're really close to summer right now. So I had a moment at my house with my wife and my two of my 3 kids in the swimming pool. And I had a date day with my wife earlier in that day. Let's say it was a Saturday, and we had a date day from morning till noonish or 2ish or something like that. And then my kids came back to the house, and I have at this time a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, boy and a girl. I have a teenager as well, but the boy and the girl are with us in the swimming pool, naked. It was naked day. And I sat back in my couch. We have a little couch on the lanai in Florida. There are these little caged lanais with a pool so the mosquitoes don't come get you. And I sat back and I realized that over 20 years earlier, I had created a magic moment in my mind, and it was called my happy place. I watched Happy Gilmore a million years ago, and I was like, I want a happy place. And that movie, Happy Gilmore, was kind of give me a mad guy from time to time, and his mentor said, create a happy place. And he had this weird place where there was like a midget riding around on a unicycle or a pony or something. And I created, when I was broke, no wife, no kids, no anything, I created a future that I celebrated a million times and was grateful for between the age of, 20-something, 30-something, whatever, until just last summer. I realized that I was living the magic moment that I had been imagining for 20 plus years, and that it was better than I thought. There's a couple of components that are out of it. There was a helicopter involved and something else, but like the abundance, the 2 dogs that are in my house, the kissing my children, the making love to my wife, I'm getting chills. There were 2 things that weren't present in it. There was a helicopter in my original presentation and like a view of the mountain. I live in Florida. There's no mountain. But other than those 2 things, dude, not only did I recognize that I was living the moment that day, but that every day of my life is like that. I had imagined one day. I hadn't imagined that what I had was better than what I had been dreaming of for years.
I love that. That's one of my favorite moments. Types of moments ever. Are you ready for your story?
Let's hear it.
I think you should file for bankruptcy. That's what my father told me. And I wished in that moment that I could reach across the phone lines and strangle him. Because that was absolutely the last thing I wanted to do. I had been working hard to create this life. I had been doing so many things on my own, trying to get my business going. And now I found myself $2.2 million in debt. My phone's ringing off the things. I'm wondering in my own mind every night if I'm going to go to jail or hell, and which one I'm going to go to first. It's hard to tell. I'm losing my house. I'm losing my wife. My life is all falling apart. And I'm in my friend's home, staring up at these lime green walls, and I go and look into a mirror, and I realize that for decades I've been blaming others about my problems, about where I'm at, about where I'm going. And I can see it all clearly now, reflected back at me, that it's time for me to take action. And it's time for me to get help. I couldn't keep doing all of these things on my own. I stopped trying to force everything and started trying to look for those who could support and help and accelerate me. I wanted to find a way to find partners that could help me grow profitably and create the spaciousness in my life to actually be able to think about the vision, the impact, the things that I wanted to have instead of constantly putting out fires to just maintain success in my business. And over the course of a few years and a lot of costly and painful mistakes, and after the blessing of finally accepting my own fate and accepting that bankruptcy, it started a turning point in my life where I began to build this process. I began to take action and take ownership. The books that I had been putting off for 10 years started getting written. And over the course of a lot of costly and painful mistakes and many different books, I learned not just how to create authorship, but create authority, create community, create partnerships that could support me and help me grow, and to surround myself with people that I loved, people that inspired me, and people that were making the kind of impact that created the world that I wanted to see more of. And as I've continued to grow Epic Authors and develop this process of collaboration, I look back at those early moments of my life when I was hoping for something better, envisioning something better. And I can remember a certain happy place that I would picture being with my kids and being by the pool and being with my wife and having an amazing date day and just a spacious time all around. And only just a few months ago, or last summer, is when that all happened. And it was thanks to this process of accepting the help, of surrounding myself with those that could help me grow, and finally owning into my own calling and creating the space that it deserved. And in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to teach you this collaborative process to help you create the same results in your life.
Love it, dude.
Is that something you can put into use for the book launch or more podcast tours and things?
Yeah, I like the chunking of the elements, and you did a really good job. There's obviously nuances with the thing that would be mine, but that was really a nice structure. So I was writing notes while you were feeding back what it is that you heard. So that was really great, man.
A lot of the times what I see is we find these moments in our own lives and use them as a canvas for our clients' language. And it's interesting, even in like the specific moments where you might not feel lonely, but it's a common thing that your clients are feeling. We can be courageous in our own vulnerable moments and share how we understand them and their experience by knowing these stories and knowing the purpose of them and telling them in a way that's powerful and supportive for our listeners.
Yeah, I think it's great, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Cool. It's been such a process exploring all of the different elements of your wisdom here. Do you have any closing thoughts for us today? And where could we go to learn more about you? And I don't think this book's out yet. So where can we pre-order it, or how can we grab it?
It's a good question. If someone's listening at this point of the game, then I'd say, I want to publish your book. I want to help you tell your story. My framework for everything that we do with our company, Epic Author, is to help people find their story that will change the world, but to find also what's the right book that will help them do that. Because I think that those are meshed in. So if you're listening to me, I want to publish your book. So go to trevorcrane.com/apply. And I've got a couple other domains that they could go to, brother, but that's to apply to be a published author. And we help our clients create success before the book comes out with some different things for abundance and money. Our average client will make 5-6 figures of new business because they're typically people that are helping others, and they'll make that before they even write the first sentence of their book. So they'll typically make a lot of money and become a bestseller with their book before they start. So I want to publish your book. in case of like to join the wait list for the new book, let me see. I don't think I even have a website for that yet. So let's call it trevorcrane.com/collaborate. And then that's where I'll put up a link to have anybody join the wait list. So when that book is released, or you potentially can be an author with us and be someone that we feature in our new book that features and tells the stories of all the profitable partnerships that we create, then become an author or just join the wait list for our book Collaborate. And excited to find ways to help you. And you can find me on social media if you search for Trevor Sexy Crane. I'm sorry, just Trevor Crane anywhere. Then you should be able to find me on social.
You heard it here first, sexytrevor.com. I
gotta go buy that
I don't know where that domain's going to lead.
Dude, I got to go buy that domain. If that doesn't exist, I'm going to have to buy it from somebody.
I'll buy it first. Sell it to him. All right. Trevor, this has been an absolute blast. Thank you for sharing your vision and your process and your moments with us. And thank you for joining us today on the Story Engine podcast.
Love you, brother. Thank you so much.